The next leg of our journey to discover some of the world's most extraordinary coastal homes takes us to southern Spain. We're heading to an unconventional home built into a steep cliff face on a 42-degree incline overlooking the Mediterranean Sea.
¿Es esta la carrerieta que eleva a Cliff House?
I think this is the road to the Cliff House.
Yeah,
this is the road.
Let's hope it is. The plot is just the face of a cliff.
That's right.
But building a house on a cliff of crumbling rock and soil was no mean feat, and required clever engineering to prevent it from falling into the sea below.
We shouldn't tell each other what we think about this house. We should look separately and then we should meet up, because I don't want to be influenced by you and I don't want you to be influenced by me, because I think this is going to be a rather weird one.
You're just not interested in what I've got to say, are you? You're just gonna
Yeah.
just go off and look at it by yourself, all right? Okay.
Oh, I thought I'd got away with that.
Are you sure this is right?
No,
Dan?
I'm not actually, darling.
I'm
because
sure
I
it
can't.
is.
Oh. Don't say anything. Don't speak. I know you're trying to say something. Don't speak. Don't speak. Don't speak. Don't speak.
Not a single adjective.
No.
The challenge facing the architects was to build a house on this steep slope, which would integrate with the surrounding landscape, yet at the same time direct all the livable spaces towards the sea.
Look at it and don't say anything.
This unusual three-bedroom holiday home buried deep into the cliff face consists of 2 floors. On the ground floor, a large open-plan living area follows the angle of the steep slope and is connected to a cantilever terrace with a swimming pool. On the second floor, all the bedrooms have uninterrupted views above the roof, looking out to the sea. The 150-square-metre living space is covered by a curved double-shell roof of reinforced concrete, which frames the view and orientates the airflow that comes from the sea into the interior spaces.
If you were a little boy, what would you put at the top of the stairs if you were hot? You'd put a pool, wouldn't you? And that's exactly what they've done, and then it opens up as this extraordinary thing. It's unbelievable. What is going on? What are these? What the heck are these? What are these? Oh, my Lord. This is comedy. It's like an Austin Powers movie set. God, what a view, though. What a view.
The couple who own this house found the challenging cliffside plot and fell in love with it immediately. Aware of both the difficulties of the location and its potential, they asked several architect companies to come up with a contemporary design. The winning pitch was from 2 young Spanish architects who embraced the challenge of building a house on such a tricky site. They came up with a design which promised a large column-free living space which would provide uninterrupted views of the sea.
I wonder what my serious architect chum is making of it.
Looking at the cliffside and looking at how ordinary most things are here, the sheer ambition, the sheer creative ambition to want to do something that's unlike anything else here, I think is brilliant. I think it's really playful and funny and, and it's extraordinary. I love all of it. This is great. I mean, what a great space to move around in. And, have you been up here? This is extraordinary.
Why wouldn't you? I think I'd put a slide right down there into a massive pool if you're going to go mad.
And it feels so young. I mean, really, only a young architect can do this with the floors and be prepared to push everything as far as it can go.
The only thing that I think anyone would say, oh, yeah, that's a little bit like my home, is the kitchen space.
This open-plan living area has a Gaudi-esque ceiling and unusual bespoke features.
Look like the king and queen of the oyster house.
The layout of the living space has been precisely dictated by the design. The kitchen has a defined dining area where the table legs have been fixed rigid into position on the floor.
It's about the architect controlling their vision at all costs.
Does that ever happen with architects?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, God.
Completely.
No, I didn't know that.
Completely.
Oh,
I mean, it's all about
Controlling
protecting your vision from a client that wants to meddle and interfere.
Yet ultimately, this open-plan living area has been cleverly designed to make the most of the main attraction.
So see you upstairs.
Looking forward to it. So this is the pile that's stopping the whole house tipping into the sea. Because what happens is the other end of this is anchored somewhere in the cliff face, and then the wall is built, and then this plate is screwed down to stop it moving. It's kind of beautiful, actually.
Ooh. Look at that. Bet Piers has talked about that. Whatever he says, it's probably right.
It's actually a really nice thing up here, right under the back part of the roof, and seeing through that tiny little window up there, the top bit of landscape. And from here, you can read the way the cliff goes all the way down to the sea. Hi, Caroline.
Hi. It's lovely, isn't it?
It is. You very rarely get a view of a roof of your own house.
Yeah. It's like an animal skin.
It is. It's very prehistoric. A slumbering dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's lovely from up here, looking all the way along this bit of the coast and really understanding why people have been drawn here for thousands of years. Because I think everything's better by the water, isn't it?
This house just celebrates it, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The architects responsible for this coastal home are Jaime Bartolome and Pablo Gil.
Hi. So you won this at competition, didn't you?
Yeah, well, the client asked a number of architects to do like a preliminary design of the house.
Were you taking a bit of a risk to get yourselves noticed in this competition?
Well, definitely notice for the client, so we could get the commission. Yeah. But basically, I think what he really liked was that from the interior, he could have all these views, and it was so open, and the roof would play with that as well and generate this kind of different spaces.
The roof was the most complex element of the design. The handcrafted metal framework was built by a local blacksmith. This malleable material is what supports the concrete and gives it its unique shape. It's structurally supported by thick, retaining external walls, so there's no need for pillars to interrupt the views.
I'm fascinated by the structure, and I'd love to know a bit more about how you actually built this on what appears to me to be a sort of vertical cliff face. So can we go and have a look outside and show me how you did it? Yeah. We'll see in a minute.
A large portion of the building budget was spent on the foundations for this house. And looking at the poor condition of the soil here, it's easy to see why.
Because this earth is basically, it's
the same.
just scree, isn't it?
Exactly what it is, yeah.
That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing here, there's nothing solid underneath. How do you go about building? Do you have to dig it out?
Yeah, you basically start digging and start building at the same time. It was also difficult because you couldn't build the whole thing like a house is done from the bottom to the top. You had to build it from the top to the bottom, because otherwise the whole thing would fall into you, onto the workers while the site was being built. No?
Yeah, massive problem.
That was the main issue. So you go in steps, and then through that way you end up with what I can show you on the photographs, like
oh yeah, please.
A huge void. This is the site as it was before. And then here what happens is that you have already built the upper part,
I see.
and then you have taken a bit of it, and then you keep you keep building down.
So, and then you put another wall here, and then make another inroad into that bit.
Alongside the giant anchors, the house was secured to the cliff face using a micropile system. This involves driving steel rods 16 metres deep into the ground to give it a secure foundation.
For a first major project for two relatively young architects, did you learn a lot about that client-architect relationship?
Having the client have that vision and making sure that the rest of the team, the architects, and then on the building site, etc., everybody has the vision and goes for it. I mean, I think in that sense, the client was really helpful.
This intricate roof is made up of handmade zinc tiles, which give it a unique texture and appearance.
We bought the raw material from Asturias in the north of Spain, a ton of zinc, very cheap because it's not, it's just the raw material. We transported it to a small town in Spain, people who work the metal very well. We have worked with them many times, and they cut it and made the scales.
Yeah.
They brought it here.
Yeah.
At that time, we had trained the construction workers, and then this whole thing was put in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So,
Just like the roof structure, the story behind these tiles is one of craftsmanship using local labour.
Manual labor, which has been thought of as something that makes the building more expensive, we have found that it's not necessarily like that. So it was kind of a huge surprise for us as well. With local labor, using methods of construction of this area, we have demonstrated that we are able to produce a great piece of architecture, I think, for the same cost and with much better value for the user. No? And it's a pity that this doesn't happen in every mile of the coast of Spain, which is a disaster.
Do you think next time we come back, will we see this whole hillside littered with amazing buildings? We could say goodbye to the square boxes of the Costa del Sol.
Hopefully.
I'm sure people are going to be interested in doing something else.
Challenging it.
Yeah, when they know it's feasible, it's durable, and it can be done. So
Well, you've done it. Thank you
we've done
very
it.
much.
Yeah.
What's great about this is that it really could set a precedent about how to build beautifully and appropriately along this coast.
I hope it changes things.
It should do, shouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Not a bad life, is it?
Not bad at all. We are lucky, aren't we?
Yeah. It's bloody freezing, isn't it? It's getting hot.
It is freezing!